Hey guys, how's it going? Brian Burns here with the Master Key Group at RE/MAX Downtown, and welcome to episode 5 of my web series. And what we're talking about today is the fundamentals of real estate investment, particularly the second part of your primary residence. Okay, so last week we purchased a home, and then what we've done is we've figured out how much equity you've built up through paying off your mortgage over the years, but then also by the appreciation in value. Okay, so we're going to recycle those numbers today, and we're going to find our return on investment. And what we're also going to do is find out that alternate path. Say we were to rent this same home instead of buy it, okay? So we're going to recycle these numbers. Like I said, your mortgage owed from day 1 to year 10. We've already found that out. And then your property value day 1 to year 10. Now, when we say the property value increases by 3.5%, which is the number we used, that's actually a very conservative number. And that's been the average since they started recording these things in 1940. So that's 80 years of statistics, whether it's been a boom or it's been a recession. That is the average that we're working with, okay? And actually, Florida is even better. Florida is about 4%, but I would rather be happy with the gains that I was not expecting than to feel like I missed out on something that I was expecting, right? So we'll use conservative numbers for this as well. Now, the other thing we're doing is we need to maintain our property, correct? Because living in a house is not free, right? So what we've done is we've taken 2% of the home value, okay, which is about $5,500, and now over 5 years you're going to spend $27,000 fixing your home, right? And then year 10, about $55,000. So we want to take those numbers into account when we're figuring out what our return on investment is, because this is part of the money that we've spent. Now, vacancy is obviously going to be 0 because you got to pay your mortgage, right? And then what we're going to do as well is we're going to talk about our selling costs, because in order for you to get a return on an investment, you need to actually sell the product, right? The value of something doesn't matter until you're selling it. So what we've done is we've taken 7% of the home value, which covers everything from your real estate costs, your realtor fees, your doc stamps, all of that stuff. And some of it is based off of the value of the home. So we're just going to do 7%. All right. And then it goes up because the value goes up, which is great, right? Now, what we need to do is we need to figure out how do we find our net return. Okay, so after all of the money has been spent, how much money did we make, right? So our net return is the value, this number here, and we're going to subtract all of these red numbers, because when you sell, you got to pay your mortgage, right? And then you also have to pay your expenses along the way, and then your selling costs, right? You'll pay that at closing as well. So what we've done is we've taken all these numbers, and then your net return, okay, in 5 years is about $34,000 and change, and then year 10, $99,000, just shy of $100,000, and this number is almost triple this one. And the reason for that is, remember, with your mortgage, the more payments you make, you know, if you have a $1,200 payment, your first payments for the first couple of years, only about $400 will be going towards what you actually owe the bank. Everything else will be going towards interest. Now, by the time you get to year 10, rather than $400, it'll probably be closer to like $700 or $800 going towards your principal, what you owe the bank, and then only, you know, 500 or 5 or 400 going towards the interest now. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to find our return on investment. Okay, so what is that percentage? Okay, so our return on investment is our net return, and we're going to divide it by our initial investment. And remember, our initial investment back when we bought the property, it was our 3% down payment and our closing costs, okay? And that was $17,250. Now, with this initial investment, and we're not going to include your mortgage payments, because with a primary residence, you're not taking on debt to make more money, or you're not taking on monthly payments to make money, right? Because if you didn't have this, you would be paying rent. So we're not going to take those out as a cost. Otherwise, you usually would. Now, your 5-year return, 200%. You've almost doubled your money that you've invested in 5 years. Not only that, 10 years, 575 or 76% increase in your return. So you've almost gotten 6 times your return on investment just by making mortgage payments. And that's it, doing nothing but maintaining the property. All right? Now what we want to do is we're going to take that fork in the road, and what we're going to see is what would have happened, say I rented the home, okay? So this $1,700 right here a month is that is if your landlord loves you, okay? I would have rented that house out that I showed you last week for $1,900, and I would have done it in a day. They would have been lined out the door to rent this out. But just because our carrying costs for the home are about $1,600 and change. We'll say, we'll say the landlord loves you and rents it to you at $1,700 a month and makes no money, right? So year one, you pay $20,000 in rent. You own nothing. Year 5, you pay $102,000 in rent. You own nothing. Year 10, you have paid $204,000. You own nothing, all right? What I really want to do is kind of drive this home of why it's such a great investment. I'm going to drive it home by giving you your opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost is what did it cost you? What is the alternate road, basically? In an opportunity cost, you can compare it to all kinds of different things. Like what if today we're comparing it to what if I bought versus what if I rent? Well, you could compare it to what if I bought or what if I invested in the stock market. You can compare it to many different things. Today we're going to compare it to renting, okay? Now, what we've done is we've taken our rent and we're subtracting our net return. So when you think about it, it's an investment, right? So you have invested in renting. Okay, yes, you do not have that $55,000 10 years later of spending, but you also have spent $102,000 and have gotten a 0% return. Okay, you've gotten, negative returns really. You've lost this money, okay? So we have decided to give this money away instead of earning this money. So our total opportunity cost for renting is $136,000. Now, when you talk about year 10, it gets even worse, right? Because you're at 204, and this goes up almost triple. This doubles because it's twice as long. This triples, all right? So by the time it's all said and done 10 years later, instead of making $100,000, you have spent $200,000 on renting and own nothing. So your opportunity cost is $303,000 negative. So I really hope that kind of drives home the point of why buying a primary residence is such a huge investment, and it's also something for you to leapfrog off of for future investments, okay? Because a lot of these other investments, they're going to require tens of thousands of dollars to do it, and most people are going to say, well, I don't have that kind of money. Well, guess what? You do, because you have a bank account that's not as easily to access as your regular bank account, but it's still there. So the future investments that we're going to be talking about, though, is going to be long-term rental. We're going to start on that next week, and I'll see you there.